Ever wonder as a comic book reader what it'd be like to see your favorite writers teamed up with your favorite artists on a book? Ever wonder as a comic book writer or artist what it's like to get paid? Sounds like a fantasy, doesn't it? Especially that last part. But entrepreneur Mark Alessi had a vision, and for a brief period at the turn of the last century, the comic world was turned, if not on its ear. Well, look, the fanboys and fangirls found themselves with some new and pretty cool options. This show will not go into the minutiae of why Crossgen eventually went bankrupt before getting bought out by Disney, or what bad blood may remain between the creators and the company itself. You kids have a whole internet for that kind of stuff. Rather, let's take a look at the books themselves. Most Crossgen titles centered around a mystic symbol that existed in various storylines and affected its protagonists in different ways. Mystic is a very good word to use, as it was one of the first titles out of the gate for Crossgen. A fantasy yarn where a buxom brunette becomes a sexy sorceress and fights other sexy people, because Brandon Peterson, Al Rio, and Aaron Lopresti were all drawing it at some time. Ron Mars handled writing chores, but be honest, you weren't reading this one for the articles. Meridian was another fun epic. Hey Disney, this story was better than like half the dreck you've put out over the past 15 years. How about a movie? You own the property. Barbara Kessel on writing chores and gorgeous artwork by Josh Middleton and Steve McNiven made it a wonderful book that could appeal to all ages. I know to most of you lay folk these names mean nothing, but I assure you, that comic nerd you know, they were all over this stuff. Crux was another good one. Hard to go wrong with Mark Waid at the helm. In this yarn, a bunch of Atlanteans were brought out of stasis and were looking to bring other Atlanteans out, and look, it's complicated. I spent most of my time just admiring how Steve Epting drew Zephyr's curvy, did I mention that they had really good artists on these books? And then there was Sojourn, a fantasy epic like Mother used to bake, with artwork by hot at the time artist Greg Land, with writing skills again by Ron Mars. I can't imagine why it was one of Crossgen's biggest sellers. Can you? Ruse was another good one, taking place on a world mired in Victorian English sensibilities with enough X-Files thrown in to keep the kids happy. For a while it looked like Crossgen could do no wrong, and they kept putting out great title after great title, which was one of the major problems that might have led to its downfall. It took DC and Marvel a long time and a lot of trial and error to flood the newsstand the way they did. It almost seemed like Crossgen was trying to do it in a weekend. Some titles resonated, some did not. We haven't even covered all of them here. Negation, The First, and Route 666 were all great reads. But with so many titles, and with only so much allowance money to spend, there was no way they could hope to compete with Batman and the X-Men for even older comic readers' dollars. If you happen across a Crossgen book in the wild, do yourself a favor and pick it up. You'll either find it grossly overpriced, or the store owner will throw in the keys to his car if you take it off his hands. It's a great case study in what was, what could have been, and what likely will never be again. Crossgen created numerous comics that got made. And to be honest, most of them are really worth seeking out. I'm Carlton Tetley, Bohica, and good reading.